Well, I don't know what story we're trying to tell when the Giant comes out smoking a cigarette, but he does. And the Giant is going to take on Sting here. And this is real, guys. This is the main event of the pay-per-view, and the winner becomes tag team champions. That's right. The winner gets both tag team titles, Sting versus the Giant, in a singles match. They go 6 minutes and 40 seconds. Sting ultimately gets the win. And it's probably because the Giant came out smoking a cigarette, which is hilarious because Sting had done an interview the prior week mocking the Giant, saying he just spends all day smoking cigarettes and he's out of shape. And, of course, Big Show, or Giant at the time, comes out wearing a t-shirt over his regular outfit. Maybe he's subconscious about that comment, but he is smoking a cigarette. What'd you make of, this match? Obviously it told an interesting story where Sting's trying to do whatever he can to get the reverse DDT. He finally gets it. And, the match only gets a 1.25 stars, but the premise that it's two guys in a singles match wrestling for the tag titles, and it's the main event, and one of your main eventers comes out in a shirt smoking a cigarette, feels like someone doesn't give a shit. Your thoughts?
No, that's not true. Now, I will admit that the premise of two guys, wrestling a singles match for the tag team titles is awkward at best when it comes to making sense. The idea really was, though, to create heat between the guy who lost, in this case, the Giant, and his tag team partner, so that when he had to go back to to the black and white, now there's an issue because his partner actually lost the title because of Paul. So that was the, however weak premise to that story or that angle. It's the reason why. Love it or hate it, that's the reason why. Now, when you talk about the cigarette, there's a couple things. Number one, it was a good example of a bad idea. In that one of the things that had worked for us and continued to work after this really was taking real elements of a character or real elements of a story or real elements of a conflict, whether it was, Ric Flair and me with our legal issues or, heat that would exist between, two wrestlers in real life that everybody knew about. And in some situations, integrating that, real life, well acknowledged heat into a creative storyline. That was a good device. It didn't always work, but for the most part, the odds were much better than not that it would. And this was the case with Paul because, we'd all see him backstage and he was chain smoking. He's an amazing athlete. And that's one of the things that you'll notice in this match, when Sting gets Paul, back into the corner and he's working him over and, Paul is spread out, horizontally over, a 90-degree angle over the top ring ropes and flipping himself over and, selling the action. That's not easy to do for a 200-pound guy.
Right.
It's a hell of a lot harder to do when you're a 500-pound guy. His athletic ability was really demonstrable in this particular pay-per-view, and you can see it if you look for it. But one of the weaknesses in Paul, number one, he was insecure. He was very young. He was new in the business. He was a sensitive guy that could get very insecure from time to time. And one of the other flaws was his health habits, and smoking was one of them. So we thought, what, why don't we try? Nobody else is doing that. It's one of the things that you do. And I'm not trying to defend it, by the way, because it was a fucked up, stupid idea, and I'll take responsibility for it. I think it actually was my idea directly. I don't think somebody came to me and, like others, in many cases, somebody, what we see on television is somebody else's idea, and they come to me and I go, okay, well, we'll try that. Indirectly my responsibility, but not my concept originally. In this case, I'm going to take the hit completely on this one because I thought, okay, wait a minute. Nobody else is coming to the ring smoking a cigarette, which is kind of an anti-hero, kind of a badass, it's the kind of thing that you don't see anyone else do, which is what makes something memorable. When you have a unique characteristic that nobody else has that defines you. When you've got a 7 foot, whatever inch guy, 500 pounds, walking out to the ring smoking, obviously not training too hard, but because of his sheer size and power is able to beat people, that kind of makes him unique. I'm not defending it. I'm just giving you the thought process. It was a horseshit thought process. It was a bad idea, but that's at least you know what the idea was.
You know, at that point, somebody had been coming to the ring smoking a cigarette for like 3 years, right?
No.
Yeah. Sandman.
Oh, fuck. I wasn't watching that shit.
So if I'm not watching it, it didn't happen. I get it.
No, it didn't happen in my mind. You're absolutely right.
So obviously the storyline here, you know, to touch on the tag thing is these guys win the tag titles when, you know, Scott and Rick turn on each other at Slamboree, and it feels like there's an opportunity now for Scott Hall to recruit, and he does. Big Show. Obviously by this point though, Sting has revealed himself to be with the NWO Wolfpack, and we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Sting's red and black face paint instead of the black and white. What'd you think of the tomato Sting?
I think he did a great job with it. You know, anyone's opinion on, you know, the Wolfpack NWO or the black and white original NWO, put that aside. I think Sting looked like $1 million.